Welcome to the AI Factory Podcast. You know, almost every single thing we do online, from streaming a movie to just sending a quick email, it all runs on the cloud. But here's the thing. The cloud isn't some magical single entity. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and unpack the three fundamental models that actually make it all work: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS.
So here's what we've got on tap. First, we'll look at why businesses practically stampeded to the cloud. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of those acronyms: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. After that, we'll explore what this all means for companies and for you. And to wrap it all up, we'll take a peek at what's coming next.
All right, let's kick things off with the why. To really get why the cloud is such a big deal, we've got to first understand the massive problems it was designed to solve.
So let's jump right in. Before the cloud, picture this. If a company wanted to launch a website, they had to go out and buy physical servers. Big, expensive, power-hungry boxes. They had to build a server room, maintain it, cool it, the whole 9 yards. So you have to ask, what was so bad about that old model that sparked this massive migration to the cloud?
Well, for starters, the old way was incredibly expensive and just rigid. Think about it. You're an online store. You have to buy a ton of servers to handle the Black Friday rush, right? But then, what happens for the other 11 months of the year? Those expensive servers just sit there gathering dust. It was a huge waste of money. The cloud came along and offered a completely different deal. It said, hey, just pay for what you actually use. Need to scale up for a big event? Boom, it's instant. And you get access to world-class security without having to be a security expert yourself. It was a game changer.
Okay, so that's the why. Now let's get into the what. Because the cloud isn't just one thing, right? It's really a spectrum of different services. Let's break down the three big ones you always hear about: infrastructure, platform, and software as a service.
All right, let's start at the very bottom, the foundational layer. This is IaaS, which stands for Infrastructure as a Service. This is basically where a business rents the raw building blocks of computing. We're talking virtual servers, storage, networking, all the fundamental stuff from a provider like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure.
The best way to think about IaaS is like leasing a plot of land. The provider gives you the land and makes sure all the utilities, the water, the electricity are hooked up. You get the essential resources, right? But it's totally up to you to build the house on top of it. In the tech world, that house is your operating system, your applications, everything. The big takeaway here, it gives you the most control.
Okay, let's move one level up the stack to PaaS, or Platform as a Service. Now, this model is really built with developers in mind. The whole point is to hide all that messy, complex infrastructure stuff from them.
The analogy here is like renting a fully equipped workshop. You walk in, and all the tools you need are right there waiting for you. The workbenches, the power tools, everything. For a developer, those tools are things like the operating system, coding frameworks, and databases. It's all provided, so they can just focus on what they do best: writing amazing code and building apps without ever having to think about managing servers.
And that brings us to the top layer, S, Software as a Service. Now, this is the one that you and I use every single day, probably without even thinking about it. We're talking about complete, ready-to-go applications that you access right over the internet.
It's kind of like moving into a fully furnished service department. You don't build anything, you don't maintain anything, you just show up with your suitcase and start living. Every time you log into Google Docs or check Salesforce or binge watch something on Netflix, you're using a SaaS application. The company that provides it handles everything: the updates, the security, the maintenance. All you have to do is use it.
So you see, it's not really a question of which one is best. It's about which one is the right tool for the job. It's a spectrum, really. On one end, you have IaaS, which gives you total control but also means more work. On the other end, you've got SaaS, which is super convenient, but you don't get to customize much. And sitting right there in the middle is PaaS, that perfect sweet spot for developers.
All right, so we have these three distinct models. But why does this choice matter so much to a business? Well, because picking one isn't just some techie decision, it's a fundamental business strategy. And really, it all boils down to one fundamental trade-off: control versus convenience. Do you, as a business, want absolute control over your digital environment, even if it means a lot more hands-on work? Then you're probably looking at IaaS. Or do you just want it to work, and you're happy to outsource pretty much everything to a provider for maximum convenience? That's the world of SaaS. And PaaS, as we said, is that happy medium.
There's actually a formal name for this trade-off. It's called the shared responsibility model. Think about it. If you have your own server room on premises, you are responsible for everything: the power, the cooling, the security, the hardware, everything. But as you move up that cloud stack,
From IaaS to PaaS to SaaS, the cloud provider takes on more and more of that responsibility. And that frees you up to focus on the things that actually make your business special. Your own unique applications and your data.
Now, this has a huge impact on the money side of things too. For instance, if you're building a SaaS product, you have to figure out your pricing, right? Well, to do that, you first have to guess how many users you're going to have and what they're going to be doing on your app. It's only after you've made that prediction that you can calculate how much of that underlying IaaS or PaaS infrastructure you need to rent. It's a really complex guessing game, and if you get that guess wrong, it can get very, very expensive.
But here's the thing. This whole control versus convenience trade-off doesn't just impact businesses. It has some really profound consequences for you and me, for all of us as users. It's quietly shaping our entire digital lives.
And this quote from Primavera de Filippi really hits the nail on the head. It points to a second, much more personal trade-off, the one between the incredible convenience we get from these cloud services and our own freedom and autonomy as individuals.
Yeah, the scholar Jonathan Zittrain talks about this idea. He argues we're shifting away from what he calls generative devices. Think of your classic PC. You could install any program, tinker with it, do whatever you wanted. You had full control. We're moving away from that and toward tethered devices. These are things like our smartphones, our tablets, even our e-readers. They are tightly bound, or tethered, to these centrally managed cloud ecosystems that really limit what we can do.
And the consequences of this shift are huge. We find ourselves living inside walled gardens. Think of the Apple App Store, where Apple gets the final say on what apps you can and can't install. We get hit with vendor lock-in. Ever tried moving all your pictures from Google Photos to, say, iCloud? Can be a total nightmare. And maybe most importantly, we end up in filter bubbles, where powerful algorithms are curating our reality, deciding for us what news we read and what videos we watch.
So what's next? Where is all of this headed? Will those neat, clean lines we drew between IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, they're starting to get pretty blurry as some powerful new trends take hold.
The future is looking a lot less about picking one model and sticking with it, and a lot more about mixing and matching. We're seeing companies embrace hybrid and multi-cloud strategies, basically using the best tool for the job, no matter who the provider is. We've got serverless computing, which is pushing that convenience idea even further, letting developers run code without even thinking about servers at all. And of course, the big one, the incredible, massive scale of the cloud is the engine that's fueling the entire AI revolution.
And all of this leaves us with a really important question to think about. The cloud has given us unbelievable convenience, there's no doubt about it. But we've seen that convenience often comes at the price of control. So as these trends only get more powerful, we really have to ask ourselves, what is the right balance for our businesses, for our society, and for our own digital autonomy? It's something we'll all need to grapple with. If you want to dive deeper into these ideas, I highly recommend checking out the book AI Factory: Architecting Global Supremacy. We've put a link for you right in the description.